I'll be honest. I
I
haven't
have tea too. Oh, we didn't even tell each other.
seen
Oh, like we were cheating on each other, but we weren't. Okay.
We were. Tea with Coffee and Alison. Welcome, you guys. If this is your first time watching one of these episodes, just welcome. Kelly and I are both psychotherapists that have an office out of Westwoods called Anchor and Bell Counseling. We're both professional mental health clinicians, and we are just here to talk through some things that we feel might be helpful to you, and to share a little bit about what we're going through with all of this. And so we're posting our information underneath these videos. If you want to call us, we offer 20-minute free consultations if you just want a little support, or if you do need a counselor, we're here. Also, we'll be posting the crisis line information. It's 24/7 care. Call. You can call or text or chat online, and it's free.
Yes.
So Kelly, what is on your mind today?
Oh, Alison, I think this week, for whatever reason, it's really hit. I think both personally and, in terms of working with clients, it feels like this week carried with it a certain heaviness and a certain realization, that this is ongoing. I think we have a good conceptual map for short-term crisis, and we all kind of mobilized in that way. But now, for whatever reason, it feels like a lot of people are really feeling the reality of the ongoing crisis, which we've never experienced before.
I agree with you on my side. Just tired, exhaustion, weariness from me, but also in my clients, just tired. And all the different calls and videos I've been on, people are they're tired.
Yes, absolutely. And I think, I know even for me, there's been a little bit of this, fear in terms of what if I really go down in terms of my mental and emotional health. I know for anybody with a history of anxiety, depression, trauma, there can be this fear of, oh boy, this feels kind of similar. There's greater isolation, there's more quiet, there's more empty space. And sometimes that can feel similar to something we've experienced or gone through in the past. And so I know that's come up a lot in my own personal life, the fear of, oh no, what if this is coming back? What if I have high anxiety? What if I go into panic states? What if I go into a depressive, cycle? Just that fear of it returning has been strong, not only personally, but also among clients.
Mm-hmm. Yes. And if there are previous history of some significant anxiety or depression or trauma or any area of mental health issues, a new trauma, a new crisis will certainly trigger our brains to say, what if this is going to take me back? And I think that fear is legitimate. The brain is remembering, the body remembers our trauma, it remembers when we've been in pain. And when something sparks that fear, it can be really overwhelming.
Yes, it is. It's like our brain just goes through that little filing cabinet. It feels something similar or senses something similar, and so goes back through the filing cabinet and pulls out, the kind of the traumatic file of a time when we did emotionally or mentally go through a hard time. I even know moms who have been through a postpartum period. That has been coming up, I know, for a couple clients, just that fear of, it's just that feeling of being enclosed with your kids, not a lot to do, not a lot going on. And so I think it's important to recognize like that fear is out there, and that fear is real. So what do we do with it? If people are having that fear? Alison, you're the professional. What do we do? If we have that fear of going back or of going into a deep, dark place again, what do you think?
Well, it's to speak generally to anyone that's listening to this. I think number one, we said it last week, name it. Name it. Write it down in your journal, put it in a voice text to yourself. call someone that you have a safe, trusting relationship with. Call your therapist, make an appointment, even if it's been a while.
Mhm.
Open up to somebody that knows you and cares about you, and name that you're scared and that you're feeling it, and own it. And I think we talked about that last week, that scientifically it's been proven to soothe. And to remind yourself, I think number 2, remind yourself of the progress you have made, and you're not where you were before. That this isn't the same thing. This isn't the same time, the same episode. That if you have done any amount of work or healing, which you have, or else you wouldn't be here right now watching this video, that you did make it and you will make it again. And to be really aware, if you need help, that is okay. And I just want to say, like, as therapists, we know what it's like to need help.
Yeah.
And I will say I love my therapist, and I love therapy for myself, and I need it. I need it, and it is so good. And most therapists go to therapy. And I just want to like normalize for those of you that maybe aren't have never been to therapy or not quite sure what you think about it, is that therapists are people too, and that you don't have to have a significant, serious mental illness to go. That is for everybody. Anybody that's suffering, that needs help, that is struggling with childhood wounds or current symptoms, that's what a therapist can help you walk through and process.
Yes.
I got off track.
No, that's good. I think it's good. But I think that idea, that we can't be surprised that symptoms are up, like in terms of that mental and emotional health. Of course it is. Like, this is totally new. This is really, I think, shaking a lot of that sense of predictability and certainty in a lot of people's lives. And that is when oftentimes depression, anxiety spike. And kind of relapse can happen. So we have to normalize that if you're experiencing that, that's okay. Like, no one's surprised by it. No one's blinking an eye at the fact that you're feeling intense, emotions and potentially going into another episode.
And that's so true.
Yeah. And I think just in terms of that, what if future forecasting is one of the cognitive distortions that we're regularly working through with clients. Those what if thoughts, I think you can handle them a couple different ways. But first, in terms of those what if thoughts of what if I go back? What if usually they do start with a what if, especially if we're not currently in an episode. But that what if thinking, I think one of the things that we do with kids is we call it facing the beast, but essentially turning towards that what if, taking it, down from your thought shelf, not keeping it so looming and large, and really asking yourself, what if like you have, a hard time of anxiety or panic? What if you have depression? And I think we're going to find that, especially if we've been through a time like that before, we have a pretty good understanding of things we can do, actions we can take, people we can resource ourselves with, to be able to move through it.
Yes. Engaging with the what if, with the beast, inviting it in. What is the worst case scenario? And I would say almost, I don't know percentage, majority of the time, even the worst case scenario, you can handle it. We can handle it. And that is not to minimize in any way, not to minimize or dismiss. Facing the beast and inviting it in just sheds light on a perspective and a reality. I think our thoughts can take us down a dark path, and so much anxiety is caused by not actually facing the beast, by actually not engaging with it. And your anxiety decreases by exploring it and being real about it and seeing what is down this deep dark path, and knowing that you won't be overcome by it.
Yes, Alison, absolutely. I think just in terms of, living in the fear of what might be, Daniel Siegel is one of our favorite developmental psychologists. He's just a brilliant mind, but he has this great activity called shark music. It's meant for parenting, but I think it applies everywhere in life. But essentially, he runs this training where he starts the training with showing the participants a video of this nice neighborhood that goes down eventually this little path that leads into this open sand overlooking the ocean. And it's this beautiful, experience walking through the video. So after the video is done, he stops and reflects with the participants. How did that feel? And they say, oh, that felt great. Like, it was just beautiful. It felt relaxing. And then the next time he plays the same exact scenery, but this time with shark music, like da 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 da. And so people are experiencing the same scenery, but it's totally different because they're hearing the shark music and this impending doom in the background. And he essentially goes on to make the point, sometimes we live, the very same scenery that is okay and good. Nothing bad is happening to us now, but we live it as if there's shark music happening in the background, like as if any moment doom or destruction is going to happen. And so I'd encourage you, like, if you are, feeling that anxiety of what if I go back? What if this weekend I tank? Notice, really ground yourself to what is actually happening around you. The trees are still blooming, the sun is still shining, the world and nature is still going in perfect rhythm. Like, all is not lost. We are okay. We are being held. Our immediate needs for many of us, are still being met. And so to really quiet that shark music in the background, because if many of us look around, our reality is okay.
I love that. I love that. And I think that's such a great example. Shark music is real. I'm thinking, da, 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 da.
You're just waiting.
Thinking through what in my life makes me go from feeling like, oh, the sun is shining and I've got this and it's another day and not what I would prefer, not being able to go out, but it'll be okay, to feeling like I can't do this anymore. I'm so tired. I'm so exhausted. And I think in our household, really limiting news, limiting social media, only checking maybe a certain amount of times a day, once a day, knowing what sources are going to heighten me unnecessarily, that won't help. Those are some things that we can just be aware of and think through, what in my life heightens the shark music unnecessarily that I know isn't going to help me as well.
Brilliant. And sometimes it's other people's anxiety. There's a lot of anxious people right now, and sometimes it's worth us, especially those of us who are highly sensitive and perceptive to other people's emotions, to at times stop and ask ourselves, am I feeling anxious, or am I regulating or feeding off of the anxiety around me? That's also a good way to recognize, just kind of pull back in some of that anxiety and fear.
So good. Yes. And I'm sure that I would be very surprised if there's not at least one person that watches this video that says, I'm overcome by the shark music. I can't get out of it. I'm deeply experiencing depression or anxiety, or I'm deeply suffering here. And I could try what you're saying, but it won't work. And I've tried everything. And we want to speak to those people too that are watching it, because we understand, you guys, we understand that is real, and they're that experiencing mental illness to a point of where you cannot pull yourself up out of it or lower the shark music. It's real. And what I want to say to you is that is okay. And I think the statistic is there's 1 in 5 Americans that are diagnosed with mental illness, like severe anxiety or depression, or mild to moderate even. So please, please, please don't go alone. Please call us. We'll post our phone number at the bottom. And please know that you can call us or the crisis number. That is free. It's anonymous. Please use that and don't go alone. And if you don't have a therapist, let us help you find one and find the right fit.
Perfect. Agreed.
Yeah.
All right, Alison. Until next time.
Sounds good. Take care, you guys.
We'll see ya.